There we go. Okay, guys, you should be able to hear me now. I had my mic muted. I'm a little nasally. So Larry's here, Tomas is here. You guys let me know if that's too high volume on the mic. It's about right. I may have to turn it up a little bit because I'm a little sinus congestion going on here. I'll just wait, guys. There's a 30-second delay here. Should be live with the mic now, guys. Let me know if you can hear me and see me, and we'll get going here. The rest can tune in later, and we'll record this whole session here. Okay. Loud and clear, says Michael. Okay, you guys should be good now. All right, guys, let's get started. I've got 34 signed up. I don't see too many out here in the queue. Robert was going to assist me here, but I don't see him here either. So we're just going to get rocking here. So what I want to do, guys, if you trained with us before, I've got this handout I do kind of late in the season for Houston Marathon. It's called the Final Countdown, where I go over these last-minute tips. I wanted to do it early this year because we've got a lot of fall marathoners. And since I'm training for New York City myself, a lot of things have kind of come to mind during my own training because it's been a couple years since I've run a marathon because I've been plagued with injuries the past couple years. And I'm in good shape this year for New York. So I want to share some of these things that have kind of been on my mind lately. For you guys running Houston Marathon or half marathon, just put this in the memory bank because we'll do a replay of this and just make it more Houston specific later. Okay. First off, there's a chat window there. You guys keep that clean. Don't banter back and forth with each other. But if you have any questions during the presentation, go ahead and type them in for me. And then at the end, I'll go through the queue and read those and answer those for you. Okay. I was hoping we have a lot more people. I don't think there's a problem with the connection. So I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to roll into PowerPoint here. So just give me 1 second and we'll roll into this. Okay. Just got to switch gears here. So let me go over that right now, and we'll get rolling. Okay. So you guys should see slide 1 here. I can't see it on my teleprompter, so I'm just going to assume this is working okay. So this is, final countdown tips for fall marathoners, but most of these things would apply to Houston Marathon, Houston Half Marathon, any winter races. We'll talk maybe more specifically about some of the fall races here.
Shh, hush. I need to put on my headphones.
Robert, you there?
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do me a favor, just mute your mic for me. But I'm on the presentation slide now.
There we go. Okay.
Guys, we have Robert joining us. He's going to confirm for me, Robert, you can see chat. He's going to look at chat, so at the end he's going to be kind of watching chat. He's going to rattle off the questions you have, and then I can rattle off the answers to them. Okay, so I'm going to get going on. We're in PowerPoint. We just started the PowerPoint, Robert. So we'll bring Robert back later, okay? Okay, guys, we may have some people from Facebook, so most of you guys know me, Coach Michael Merlino. Founder, head coach of In-Flight Running, which is a Houston-based marathon, half marathon training program. I'm a certified fitness trainer, 17 years, ex-corporate guy. I've been a running and a marathon coach for 14. Been doing in-flight running for about 10 years. Train a wide variety of clients. In fact, I just got done at a local Fleet Feet store here in Houston, training some newbie 5K, 10Kers, and ran over here to do this presentation. So from the 5K level to the marathon level, we get people coached up for their races here in Houston. Okay. So tonight, I want to go over some things. This is kind of leading into your race, your 13.1, your 26.2 mile race, marathon, half marathon specifically. So I want to go over some things about staying injury free as we get, and this is primarily for those final weeks. I'll say 4 out, maybe 5 out prior to a race as we're on the edge of taper. and peak mileage, peak long run, and then from there going into taper mode, which is the toughest part for any runner to do because they just go stir crazy. So we're going to talk about how to stay injury-free and healthy during that period, how to handle the taper mode, which is a mental struggle more than a physical, some final carb loading tips, talking about weather conditions and how to deal with those for a race. Some checklists. I won't really go over those, but I'm going to email you guys a PDF on that. Race strategy and course management. Like once you get on the course, how do you run the course? If you guys, Robert, do you have your mic muted? I can hear some background noise.
Oh, sorry. I thought I did. Hang on. Let me get that muted.
Just hit that little wheel on the top, and the pull down will hit, and you can mute it. Okay, so this is talking to you guys that are close to race day. Houston Marathoners will soon be there, or Disney or whatever. But yeah, at this point there's been a lot of miles that have been put down. Chicago Marathoners, I think I looked at it. I think by the it's all said and done, they'll run about 900 miles to get ready for the race. So we're in that final bit here, and we've been through some tough weather. So obviously the fall marathons are always tougher to train for because we got to train at the hottest time during the year here in Houston, Texas, which is, as you guys know, not fun. Okay, so when you're ready for a race, it's doing the small stuff really, a lot of the small stuff right as you lead into race day. The crowd support, the adrenaline rush is always going to get you through the race, but from the start to the finish and all points in between, I want to make sure you have a good race, an enjoyable experience, not a totally full of pain experience. So we'll talk a lot of the tips I give you are going to give you the ability to get the most out of your race. Okay. In the end, man, it's all brain power. There's not much quad. There's not much quad power left late. It's your brain, it's your heart, and your guts that are going to get you to the finish line. Okay. So we want to load you up with some tips here. This is just a slide just to kind of remind you guys that training for a marathon and a half marathon is a big deal. It's been diluted a little bit by charities. Obviously, there's a lot more people that run a marathon now than they did 30 years ago. If you ran into somebody in the grocery store 30 years ago and they said they were a marathoner, you'd be bowing to them. Nowadays, not really, okay, because everyone's running them. But still a big deal to get ready for it and to do it, especially the marathon distance. Okay, I love it, man, because it's the only sport where average people like us can run the same race as the pros. I can't go. They probably wouldn't want me to, but I can't play point guard for the Rockets on the same court. But I can run with Kara Goucher. I can run in the same course as Ryan Hall. I'm not going to win a car. I'm not going to get a big check, nor are you. But kind of cool. We can train on that same course. They got to cover 26.2. We got to do it. So it's kind of a cool experience. And every race, every experience is different. Before I get into taper, just a couple things that came to mind. This is kind of an empty slide here because it's just a couple things I threw out here. But man, you guys do a lot of running with a group here in Houston with in-flight running. You're running with your peeps during the week and long runs too. And thank God for that because it's tough to get through these hot months without your buddies. But one thing I want to throw out there, guys, is as you practice your predicted marathon pace, your predicted half marathon pace, honestly, when you're about 3 weeks out, when you're headed towards your peak mileage and then taper, I would ditch your friends, man, and I would go Larry Loner. I would go out there. No offense, Larry, to Spain, but meaning you go out there and run those predicted marathon pace runs by yourself, some of those 6 to 8 to 9 milers. Because on race day, guys, that security blanket's going to go away. Your buddies aren't going to be there unless you're there at the same pace. And honestly, in my opinion, not many marathoners should be running the same pace. In our group, we got 170, it's close to 170 now. But if we really spread them out and looked at their true pace, what it should be, probably most of those people out of 175 shouldn't be running together. So I think it's important to turn the music off and run solo on some of those runs and get your head into the game and start thinking about your race strategy and do it without your friends, okay? be a little bit more antisocial as you go into the race. You know, you got those smaller 3 and 4 baby race runs late. Go do those with your friends. But if I got a PMP or PHP in there, I'd recommend doing it by yourself a few times. I would utilize. I've thought about this in the heat, and I've been doing a lot of this. It's working well. A lot of people don't even mess with gels or blocks or beans or these little supplements to jack up their blood sugar a bit unless they're doing long runs. In this heat, guys, especially, I would recommend that you practice that in anything that's over, 6+ miles. So, general rule is if you're running for more than an hour, you should be taking down some of the stuff mid-run. I've been doing that on my 8-milers. I did a 9-miler this morning to get ready for New York. And I'll take 2 gels down during that run. Man, it really helps keep me alert. And sometimes I'll even take one down after a track workout, after a hill workout, or before a hill or track workout. I'll take a gel down or something just to kind of give me a little oomph. So I would recommend maybe taking a look at that. Plus, it's a good way to practice some of that stuff so you know for sure what you want to do on race day. Because just a couple things I want to throw at you on that, okay? So we get into taper mode, which technically is right after you've done your peak long run for your race, 20 plus for marathoners, 13 plus, 12 plus for half marathoners. And this is where most of the work is done. You're supposed to bring everything down. So tapering is really twofold: loading up carbohydrates, taking mileage away, taking other activities away so we load our muscles up. We hydrate really well, saturate them with hydration and glucose, which is sugar, which you're going to need for marathon day. So it's twofold. It's taking effort away and jacking up the carbs. So you're ready for race day. Okay, average human being without carbo loading, without doing all that, is good for about 16, 17 miles. It's how you load and what you take down during the course that's going to get you to the 20 plus the 26 without a problem. Okay, so keep that in mind. But this is a tough time because you get that 20 plus miler down or your 12 plus, there's a lot of lesser mileage, and a lot of people can't deal with that too well. They get really cranky, and they because you're used to doing those high miles, and now you're going to taper down. So we go into taper mode, and I was talking to Robert today about this. He had some questions about, what length of taper should I do. So on my schedule, I highly recommend 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks for a marathoner. I think, and I've got it in red here, I think 3 is optimal. I find that a lot of runners get way too stale, and then they have more time to overthink things if they go 4 weeks. Half marathoner, they really only need about 2-week taper before they race, maybe 3. And then you have to adjust these things based on, how your body feels, man. So if you're really beat up, you may want to, and you're able to get that 20 plus or down, you may want to just get it down and then take that extra time to heal up as you approach race day if you've got some lingering injuries, okay? Other than that, so you really got to listen to your body with that. If it's saying, man, I think I'm going to need more of a break when I get to peak, do it. You may need more of a rest going into your peak miles to get ready for your 20-miler. So you may want to do that and then stick to the 3-week or the 2-week taper, okay? For Houston Marathon, that's why I offer a dual peak run, because unfortunately, a 3-week taper falls on Christmas weekend with the Houston Marathon, which who's in town? Like hardly anybody. So we offer a 4-week and a 3-week taper to prepare people for our local race here in Houston. Okay, and then work and travel and holidays come into play too. So I already know a couple people in our group that are training for Chicago. Their peak is next weekend, but they're going to probably have to do it this weekend because they're going to be out of town next weekend. So you got to kind of take what you can get too. If it's got to be 4, then I go with a 4. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of information on how to judge what that taper should be. Okay, I love this acronym here. Acronym. Taper. Trust your training. Got to do it, man. If you guys are still in the game and you're not injury free and you're headed towards your peak mileage for Chicago, New York, Marine Corps, Twin Cities, whatever, you got to trust in the fact you got this far and you're trained up, man. You're almost ready. You just got to do that 20-pluser, and then you got to do the taper correctly, which is huge. A for adjust your caloric intake. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll talk about carbo loading in a few. P for perfect your race day strategy, which we'll talk about. E, embrace the free time. Miles go down, you guys got more free time. I'd catch up on your movies, maybe watch Spirit of the Marathon, watch some running movies to kind of keep your head in the game. But minimize any type of yard work, anything physical that's going to wear you down, okay? But take the time off and kind of enjoy it. And rest and recover. You know, part of tapering is recovering because you've got a lot of like micro tears in muscle tissue and muscle fiber since you've been training a lot. So, you know, this is a time to jack up the protein, let your body heal up a little bit so you're ready for race day, okay? So, big thing is you're into taper, and this is kind of happening to me because I'm 50 now, and things start falling apart. But I guess it's because I'm 50 now, guys. I'm more mindful of things that just don't feel right, things that make me go, what's that little creaky thing, or what's that little, like today, my right Achilles was a little tight, no big deal, but you want to pay attention to those things that are kind of tweaking you a bit. You know, a sore heel, plantar, or the fascia on the bottom of your feet is really tight, IT band talking to you. And I'm going to stress this because I still, like last week I was talking to some Chicago marathoners. They've got some stuff going on. I'm like, have you been icing it? No. And I'm telling you, what you guys want to think about, anytime you've got inflammation, anytime you've got a hot spot or something that's tweaking you, I want you thinking about inflammation, which inflammation, it basically generates heat. So anything that generates heat in the body that's hurting you, you want to put it out with ice. So ice, it's amazing, man. You guys want to be icing 15 minutes on, 15 off, 15 back on. Any little area that tweaks you. I like to do it minimum 3 days. If it goes away, I know I'm good to go. If it lingers, I will keep an eye on it. Still remain on my training schedule. If it gets about the, you know, if it gets worse though, or stays about the same, and then pain sets in or discomfort sets in, you definitely want to go see a doctor. Okay. I like to give it 3-4 days before I make that call. Massage maintenance is huge. We've got a great massage team on board with InFlight now. A lot of you guys have been taking advantage of that. But I would do even more maintenance massage. I would get a massage probably once a week, I'd recommend, my final 4 weeks. So, yeah, you're going to be spending some money, but believe me, I mean, you guys have been training for 6 months for a race. It's a good investment, okay? And then your final massage should be 3-4 days out. So say you're running Chicago Marathon on Sunday, I would not do I would not do a massage any further out or closer to the race than Thursday. I like Wednesday or Thursday. And I don't even like to do it the same day. It's on my travel day. So if you're traveling on a Thursday, I'd probably do it Wednesday. So you've got some time to loosen up a little bit before you get on your flight, okay? So, man, ice, 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 it works. Go out to Kroger right now, buy a big old bag, and stick it in your freezer, okay? Other thing is you want to keep your immune system in check. So, as you guys can hear me now, I sound like Elmer Fudd, but I woke up the other day and I was a little stuffy. And I'm like, man, is this cold or allergies? And then I remembered, yeah, it's September, and every year, because I got hay fever, this pollen kicks, we get a second kick of pollen. So I know it's allergies, but precautionary, I took an Advil last night, I took some Robitussin down, I feel a little bit better, but I know it'll shake out, and I'm back on my maintenance stuff. I take Zyrtec. So if you guys have allergy issues and you take a Zyrtec or something like that when you need it, I would go on it daily to keep all that stuff from stuffing you up so you don't go full-blown sinus infection, okay, like I do. So you want to keep that in check because, man, you do not want a sinus infection or something that's tough to rebound from that close to your race day, okay? You want to stay away from sick people. I mean, maybe not wear a surgical mask at work, but maybe, I don't know. Anybody who's coughing or hacking at work, my God, please get away from them. Quarantine yourself from your significant other and sleep in the guest room, okay? Sounds harsh, but man, you do not want to get sick and spend 6 months of your life training for a big race and then blow it because you get the flu or something, okay? So I like to stay out of public places. Sounds freaky, but I'm not going to go to an Astros game. I'm not going to go to a concert. I'm not going to go to places where there's a ton of people. I'm going to stay out of shopping malls and confined areas where there's a lot of people. Just not worth getting sick, okay? I would knock out whatever work you got to do physically and get it done now and ditch the yard work, ditch the strenuous housework. Put your spouse on notice that, or significant other, that I'm not doing jack for the next 3 weeks because you just don't want any extra physical labor that's going to just kind of blow your race, okay? Little things add up, okay? So, and then all this stuff relates to keeping that immune system in check so you don't get sick. Even though a lot of marathons, it's a common thing to get sick about 2 to 3 weeks out from a race because their body's just so beat up from all the training, okay? Load up some extra protein, things like that, and I would definitely be doing a lot more sleep. I mean, if you can get another hour down a night, starting now, I'd do it. Sneak in some naps on the weekends, that's good stuff. And you should be napping after your long run. After you do your breakfast, go home and just take a power nap on Saturdays, okay, these final long runs. As far as carbo loading, man, honestly, guys, I just use Nancy Clark's Sports Nutrition Guidebook. In a few minutes, I'm gonna throw up a little link to the right column there by your chat, so you can go over to and check out Nancy's book. But I had a chance to meet Nancy a few years ago. She was a great marathoner in her day. Nutritional consultant to the Boston Red Sox, the Boston Celtics, a lot of Boston marathoners and Olympic athletes. So I love about her book. It's in the 5th edition now. She's got 3 or 4 chapters on weight management. But what I love about her books, you can read it in pieces by chapters. So you don't have to read the whole thing. If you want to kind of know what to do with carbo loading, she's got one whole chapter on how to carbo load. She's got one whole chapter on how much protein you need as an adult athlete, things like that. How to manage your weight and lose weight but maintain your strength, things like that. So just it's worth it's on Kindle, I think, for $9.99 or $8.99. It's in paperback for about $13.83. Best investment. I just go out and buy it now. Okay, I'm gonna send you a link over to that on Amazon. Other than that, you want to limit while you're carbo loading, and your mileage comes down automatically on your training schedule that I've written for you. Most training schedules will do that. You want to limit all non-running activity leading up to your race. So I'm just warning all you fitness freaks. I would not be doing body pump classes. I would be tabling some aggressive yoga. I would totally ditch hot yoga, guys, because it just flushes your electrolytes out. I would just totally, I'd shut down the hot yoga now, but I mean, probably 3 weeks out is when you want to do that, a minimum 2 weeks out. No strength training 2 weeks prior to your race. No speed and hills 2 weeks out. 3 weeks out, your final speed workout. What I like to do, and we'll be doing with our group, some pithy 200 meter on a track by 8 to 10, 200 meter. So you do half the track pretty fast, not full throttle. I'd say about 85% effort, and then recover for 200 meters until you get your starting point of the 400. Then rock it again and do 8 to 10 of those, so your legs aren't forgetting that you got a race coming up, and then that's it. Nothing 2 weeks out. Okay. Carbo loading, of course, you're saturating your muscles with fuel, and you're hydrating really well while you're doing that. Okay. If you're loading up right, guys, don't freak out, especially the ladies. You guys should be gaining weight during the load, okay? All relative to your body weight, but most of us should be gaining, anywhere from 2 to 5 to 6 pounds. Now, obviously, we're not fat loading. You want to be carbo loading. So, keep that in mind. Yeah, you should be doing a little, if you're gaining some weight, because for every gram of carbohydrate you're laying down, you're laying a little water down with it too, which is a good thing. You guys want you want that because you're going to need that for race day. Okay. As far as travel to your race, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but a couple things here. If you've got a high elevation race, I would highly recommend like Denver, for example. I would recommend getting in earlier, like midweek, because you're going to need a couple days to heat to elevate. Acclimate to elevation. Okay, you don't want to be going in the day before your race. Even 2 days before, I think is pushing it. I would like to go 3 to 4 out and get acclimated. One thing I like to do, most of you guys have compression socks. You run in them. If you don't, I get full-blown compression socks, running socks, that you could use with your training at the next round if you're not using them now, and wear those on the plane. That'll prevent blood pooling, that'll prevent muscle cramping, and keep that blood flow going in your legs. I like to be nice and comfy on my flight. I'd recommend you guys wear warm-ups because some of the flights get really cold. You want to stay heated up. You don't want to catch a cold on a plane. You want to just keep insulated. Okay. I just booked my flight for New York. You guys realize when you book your flight, man, it's game on, right? I mean, that's when it really counts, when you plunk your money down for your flight. So I'm going, I think, Delta, and I'm taking a smaller flight direct into New York. And for $39, I could get a seat that's got more leg room. Money well spent, and I'd highly recommend you do it too, okay? Because you want to be as comfortable as possible on the flight to your destination city. And I would not mess with connecting flights getting there. You want to get up in the air once and go through an airport once, get a cab, get to your hotel room, bam, done. Save the connecting flights for the way home if you can help it. If it's too late to do that, don't worry about it. If you can change your flight, I would. But just takes a lot more guesswork out of it, and you don't want to miss packet pickup if you're really pushing it anyway. So, okay. Weather, something we can't control, but you can plan for it. So obviously you guys should start to look at the weather 7 to 10 to 14 days out. They say 44 degrees is optimal for a human being running a marathon. I totally believe that. All my best races have been between 40 and about 45. Some people can't tolerate the cold as much. Others can. But I think you'd agree with me. Anybody take 40s on race day. You can do pretty well with that type of temperature. Hopefully you guys get that in Chicago and New York. You always want to dress for the conditions or the temperature at the time you think you're going to finish the race, not the start of the race. Okay. So and then you want to be more than willing to come off your predicted marathon pace or your goal pace if the weather is not cooperating. A lot of headwind, getting chilled from the wind and it's really cold, or severely hot, which has happened with both New York and Chicago in recent years. Okay, so you guys got to be willing to adjust that pace early in the race and not hold to it if it's just not a good weather day, or you're gonna fall apart late in the race. Okay. You definitely want to do a shoe check here. So this is one slide. I threw in here, guys, because these are my two weapons right now. Okay, on the right is the Brooks Launch, which I love. I've run multiple races in those. On the left is the 1080 New Balance. This is an older model from last year, but I love the shoe. Okay, these are my babies. I've been wearing these and alternating with them with my long runs. And lately I've noticed, this is interesting. Now, I'll let you know that the weapon on the right, the Brooks Launch, when I ran the Woodlands Marathon a couple years ago, I had severe blistering problems. I mean, a huge silver dollar-sized blister that I've never had. I think it was a defective shoe. Hey, Brooks sponsors our club. I love Brooks. I think I got a lemon shoe, but now recently I'm using my launch at my training, and I've noticed once I get up in those mid-teen miles, that launch is a light shoe, but it's a very rigid shoe, and I don't do as well when I go over 15 miles with that. The guy on the left, the 1080, has a little bit more cushioning on the ball of the foot, so I've decided at this point that the 1080 is probably going to win out for race day. But I alternate between two of these guys because they work well with my training based on what I'm doing. So I would highly recommend you guys start thinking about these things and start determining what that race day shoe is going to be for you. I would definitely buy your shoes ahead of time, like now, and I would buy local, and I would buy it from a running store because it's easier to return them so you don't have to mess with sending it back to Amazon or whatever. I would also be careful about shoes you buy online because a lot of these big warehouses, these shoes sit in warehouses, guys, and they're not air-conditioned warehouses in many cases. So, and don't stock up on shoes wait months in advance either, because when they sit in your closet, you lose some of the life of the shoe too. So, great question by one of our new runners this week on that, and I was like, yeah, you got to watch some of that stuff online. You may save 20 bucks, guys, but you don't know where that shoe came from, and there's a lot of shoe brokers that middlemen, and sometimes they get secondhand shoes. So that's why I always buy my shoes at Fleet Feet or your local running store. And if you're doing it, especially for your local race, there's always a run on shoes and sizes. So like Houston Marathon, for example, you guys want to get your shoes way ahead of time because everyone and their uncle's going to get shoes about 1 month out from the race. Okay, I like to break in my long run shoes. You don't break them in on race day, guys. You want to, and I like to do at least a couple double-digit mid-teen runs with my new shoes that I'm going to use for race day. I want to know beyond. Now, if I would have done that for the Woodlands a couple years ago, I would have known that that shoe was not quite right and would have saved my race. So that was a 352 race for me, pretty good, but it killed my chances at a 342 because I had to stop a lot because that blister was killing my right foot. So take them for a test drive, break them in, they mold to your foot a little bit better. Big deal. You got 20 miles on them, you got 30, 40 miles on a pair of shoes, it's going to go 400, and you know for sure they're going to work. Okay, so do the shoe check. I've got some checklists, and I'll send this to you guys, I've got a race day shopping checklist I'll send you, and a race day drop-off bag, like things I would recommend you put in your drop-off bag that you're going to have, you drop at the race that you can have readily available after the race. Okay, big races like New York now, a lot of them, they're giving you the option to have a drop bag or not. Some people like to have all their stuff when they finish. This time I'm decided I want to get out of that chute quicker and not have to wait around for my drop-off bag, so I'm going to rough it, get the Mylar little cape to stay warm, and just start walking back to my hotel room because I want to just get out of there. So some races are giving you that option now. Check the bag and wait, get your comfy stuff on, or the heck with the drop-off bag and get your protective coating and just get out of the chute quick. Okay, I'll send that stuff to you. Course management. Yeah, most races like Chicago, there's no way around it, guys. You're gonna have to start slow because you got 50,000 people next to you. New York, 44,000, whatever. But I would definitely start slow. You're gonna have to. It's gonna take you probably 6 to 8 to 10 miles to get into pace. Gets a little frustrating. And then I would have your primary goal race. I call it my B, actually my A game, but the one in the middle is the one I'm shooting for. If you feel like Superwoman, or you're like, wow, like this is perfect weather, maybe you could be a little bit more aggressive with your pace. That normally doesn't happen. You want to stick to your primary goal, and then if bad weather sets in, you're not feeling it, you feel nauseous, any little weird warning sign, you may want to back off your goal race and go a little bit slower on the front end just to make sure you can get through it, and then you could always pick it up later if you need to do that. I don't coach negative splits, guys, so I highly recommend keeping even splits with your pacing. And if you're even and you feel like you've got some in the tank late, by all means, at the end, if you've got a kick, then kick it up a little notch. Okay, I like to ratchet up a little bit every mile in those final miles if you have it. Most of us don't have it late. Okay. This will be in the handout, but I'll send you a link to a race pace band that you can go to run. You guys can Google this too. Runner's World Magazine race pace band, and you can put your predicted marathon time in there, and it gives you your cumulative split. So say you're, to keep it easy, say you're shooting for an 8-minute pace per mile. That's easy. Easy to do in your head. You know, at the end of mile 1, you should be at 8. Mile 2 should be 16. But if you've got some stuff in the middle, that way you don't have to think about it, and you can print out this band and stick it on your wrist. I like to print it like a Tyvek envelope, and then I put that next to my watch or my Garmin, and every time I hit a mile mark, I look at my cumulative time and say, okay, cool, I'm on target, or I'm a little bit behind, or whatever. So that just seems to help. Know the course, study the course. I like to drive the course. Tough to do in New York, but who knows? I may get Kelly Biedrich and maybe a few of the other in-flighters and jump in a cab and have a cabbie drive us around New York so I can see the course. I did that in Chicago, really helped. I did that in San Diego, which was my 3:30 PR, really helped. To get in a rental car or take a cab ride and just drive the course. Okay, nice to know what's around every turn. If you can do that, if not, Google. I like to go to Map My Run. I did that this week and found a Chicago course, the New York course on Map My Run, so you can actually look at the course and see where the elevation is, which is great, real time. You know, like on like in a Google Maps type of thing. Okay. I'd highly recommend walking through water stops. No one's going to gain much running through a water stop. I like to just chill out, walk through it, grab my cup of water, a couple cups of water, move over to the right away from the main traffic, got to get my head screwed on straight, and bam, hit it again. I think it takes the edge off, and you're not going to lose much in your time doing that, okay? Get in trouble or late, you fade late, don't be afraid to go into run-walk mode. Like run 5 miles, walk 1. That doesn't cut it. Maybe you run 4 miles, walk 1. Okay, or just some intermittent walking in there just to take the load off if you just feel like you're kind of losing it, and you want to take a little edge off to make sure that you can push forward to the finish line. Okay. Hopefully you won't have to do that, but if you have to, nothing wrong with walking a little bit late in the race, or if you get a tough hill late in the race. Not going to go over all this, guys. I'll send this to you in the handout, but a few tips for rainy or chilly conditions. Do the human garbage bag thing. So if it's raining at the start, I would pack a garbage bag and make sure it's a garbage bag that fits your body. I'd stick that in your luggage. A body glide. There's a great new product that actually I'm going to be carrying on my website soon. It's called Trail Toes. I love this stuff. It's like this goop, like Body Glide goop that you use it. I like to use it for my feet, and I use Body Glide for, the side of my back muscles, anywhere where I'm gonna chafe, inner thigh, all that stuff. Okay, but this stuff, Trail Toes, man, it's like a goopy stuff that I coat my feet with. That stuff is great. I ran a long run. I got pelted for 15 miles. Just torrential downpour a few weeks ago, and I coated my feet with it. No blistering at all. Love that stuff. Okay, a lot of trail runners use it. You guys ran the Sand Crab. The guy who invented that product was down at Sand Crab this past weekend. Okay, dress to taste, but do not overdress. And if you do overdress to stay warm, put some cheapo stuff. A lot of times these expos, you can get some cheap coveralls, a cheap dry fit shirt that you can ditch on the course, or a cheap pair of gloves or something. Okay. Less than 50, probably a running cap to keep the heat in. Gloves. I love windbreakers. I love the Brooks LSD jacket. I think it's called the LSD jacket. That lightweight windbreaker that really keeps the heat in, and it's really lightweight, and you can unzipper it if you need to cool, if it gets too hot. Another thing is, you guys wearing a Garmin and it looks like rain, I would wrap the Garmin with plastic wrap. So I'd take some saran wrap with you to the race and wrap the saran wrap around your wrist and around the Garmin to keep it make sure it's waterproof so it doesn't fail on you, you can still use the buttons and everything on there. It should work pretty good. You may want to try it with the new Garmin because I know a lot of it's touch now, but you may want to try that out. If it's raining, seriously, guys, ditch the iPod. You know, it's going to be a hassle dealing with it. I'm old school. I think it's cheating to wear an iPod, but you know, half the field's doing it. So, you know, if it's weird conditions, I wouldn't even mess with that because you're going to inevitably have to mess with it during the course, and you're gonna lose time from that. Okay. A few other tips. You guys should be doing it now, but I'd start scouring the race's website. The information in your packet that you get from the race, or if they've sent anything to you with your confirmation card, you guys should be studying that stuff. You're going to need to know every little detail about your race. Every little bit's going to help on race day, okay? I talked about the Runner's World race pace band. That's in the handout I'm going to email you guys. Have your family sign up for tracking. Hopefully it works. Houston Marathon has not had a good track record with tracking. Chicago's pretty good. Some of the big races, their technology stuff gets overloaded, but you know, it's nice for them to kind of be able to track you at home, or if they're there on the course looking for you. If it's a corral system, you guys want to get as far forward in the corral you're in. Chicago's got tons of corrals, but they have a great corral system. But you know, inch your way to the farthest point forward in your corral if you can do it. Just elbow your way in there, okay? Ask people in that corral what their pace is and stuff, and you know, try to go out of the blocks with people that are going to be kind of your goal if you can find some people in there, okay? Remember, a marathon has two halves. The first half is the first 20 miles. The second half is the last 10K. So even the pros will say this. You never know what's going to happen that last 10K, that last 6 miles. Hold your cards, get through the first 20, put your game face on. Final 10K is where you got to screw your head on and just be tough, man, because it's usually not easy, that last 10K. Okay? Got to respect 26.2. You got to respect 13.12, but you better respect 26.2. So don't be a marathon snob and don't think you got it in the, you know, you got it. You got it. You don't got it till you guys hit the finish line, okay? So truly respect it, prepare for it, and have a great race, okay? Love this quote by Ryan Hall, Olympian, world-class marathoner from the U.S. I don't think about the miles that are coming down the road. I don't think about the mile I'm on right now. I don't think about the miles I've already covered. I think about what I'm doing right now, just being lost in the moment. I highly recommend you guys do that. Have fun. You know, be thoughtful about what you're doing. Be thoughtful about what your body's feeling like. And every mile, do that gut check and say, okay, how am I doing? Literally talk to yourself, okay? And make those adjustments as you need to with pacing and other things. And you should do great, okay, if you're trained up for it. Remember, the finish line is not just a line drawn across the road, guys. It means something. Every time you cross the finish line, it's a blessing. So, enjoy it, celebrate it, and realize that every race, every finish line is different. And lock in what worked, lock in what didn't work, and use that to prepare for your next race. Okay. Mention some handouts. You guys that tuned in or signed up for this, I'll send some handouts out to you. Final countdown guideline. Copies of this PowerPoint presentation. I'll send those out to email because I know who registered, and I'll send those out to those who got on this webinar. Okay. You guys have any questions? Michael@inflightrunning.com. For you guys that are inflighters, you should know my email address. But anybody who joined us on Facebook, or people that got the link to this that aren't members, by all means, if you guys have follow-up questions, go ahead and email those to me, Michael@inflightrunning.com. Okay. You can also follow InFlight. Follow me, Facebook.com/InFlightRunning. Twitter handles InFlightRunning. On YouTube, our YouTube channel is youtube.com/InFlightRunning, which this replay will eventually be there, secure, but it'll be secure mode. So you guys will get an email within a couple hours of the end of this that'll give you a replay link. So if you came on board later, you just want to go back and refer to things I talked about, you can do that. Okay, and then I would bookmark that, and you can pull it up later. So I can't really see the queue too well here. Robert, are you there? If you're there, Robert, why don't you turn your mic back on? Can Robert hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're a little faint, man. So just if you can, just get a little closer to the mic. So I'm gonna go back over to video mode here, guys. You can see me. You can see Robert.
Is everyone able to hear me now?
Okay, I'm here. Robert, just say something, see if you pop up on video. Yeah. Okay, guys, so we're doing an exchange here. Robert and I are co-presenters now. So when Robert talks, he's going to pop up on your screen. When I talk, you can see me. So do we have any questions? I got to go over to chat here.
Well, I want this on. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, thank you.
if I can hear you, I know they can. We only have 8 people in this room. Wow, that's amazing. Maybe there may have been some technical glitches. I had 34 signed up. Let's go to chat. You guys alive in chat here? Is anybody in chat? Do you see anybody in there, Robert?
I haven't seen any questions come up. I do know that one attendee did have to leave because he was having technical difficulties and he just wasn't getting audio or video. So
okay,
he'll get the replay. One question I had while we're waiting is what's your opinion on running with a pace group in your corral as opposed to just running with a pace band?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, man. I'm a freak about pacing and kind of knowing where I'm at, like goal-wise, like cumulative time as I'm racing. Here's the deal with pacers. Pacers have good and bad days like we do, okay? So number one I would do, if you go to the expo and you have an opportunity to meet your pacer, I would meet the pacer and I would ask him questions like, so are you injury-free? I mean, I've done this before. How's your training been going? You injury-free? And so how do you plan on, what's your game plan for pacing this during this race? And they'll tell you now, some of these guys will pace negative splits. If you haven't been practicing negative splits, meaning you run purposely, or at pace or slower the first half, and then you go a little bit faster the second half, which a lot of people, especially beginners, can't tolerate, you may not want to hitch a ride with that guy. So I'll give you an example. Another thing, I like to look at the experience of the pacer, because some races kind of throw anybody out there. I ran Woodlands with a couple pacers that I don't think were 19 years old now. They're incredible runners. They're like cross-country runners, but they'd only run a couple marathons. And I was talking to these kids. I'll call them kids because they were kids. And after about a mile, I was quizzing them. Hey, when did you guys run your lap? And they had no earthly clue what they were doing. And I ditched them. And luckily I did, because later I saw them on the course and they were just hanging people out to dry. So if you get an experienced pacer, a lot of times they'll put the bios of the pacers in the program and things like that. Just check them out. I like to keep, with that just being said, I like to always keep the pacer for my goal time within striking distance of where I'm at on the course. Does that make sense? Like, I want to see, a lot of times I'll have balloons up or something, okay? I want to make sure I can keep them in sight. And then I'll kind of look behind me sometimes too and see, okay, I'm right where I need to be relationally because the 415 guy is behind me and I can see the 4 guy in front of me, and my goal is like between a 4 and a 405 or whatever, okay? So I would say take advantage of it, but also I would be cautious about it, because the pacer can blow up just like we can. If that makes, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Okay, we have a question from Tomas. What's a good rule of thumb for hydration during the race?
To make it easy for you, Tomas, and for the whole group, Catherine Krupa, who's our dietitian I recommend, she put together a great little PowerPoint presentation. We're going to bring her in for the Houston Marathon to talk to the group on carbo loading, and we're going to probably bring in Dr. John. Dr. John Cianca is the medical director for the Houston Marathon, and he's probably the country's top expert in hydration for marathons. Okay, so I like to kind of alternate between, like, every couple miles between Gatorade and water. But there's one slide that Catherine has in there that kind of goes over that, like how to do it during carbo load, and then what you guys should be doing on race day. So I'll just save that for the handout, because it's one handout that kind of, and actually I've got Dr. John's handouts too that I melded in with that from his previous speech, and it's his recommendations, like he's recommending what the Houston Marathoner should do. So, which, as you guys can know, we could get, you guys, Chicago's had 80-degree weather. I pray to God that doesn't happen. But, Houston, of course, it could be 30, it could be 80, So, you guys will get that. There's some goodies I'm going to send those people that signed up for this, and that's one of the goodies. It's like a full-blown PowerPoint that goes over hydration and a lot of detailed carbo loading stuff. Okay. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and this next question from Michael kind of goes along with Tomas.
Is that Mike James?
Yeah, Mike James, sorry. At what point in the race do you take in goo, blocks, etc.?
First part of that would be, you guys want to really start experimenting with that, like, now. Okay? Houston Marathon, you guys are approaching 10-mile marker now for the marathon. So play with that during your training. Generally speaking, the manufacturer recommend. I mean, I like to. They used to say a goo or a gel the first 60 minutes and every 45 minutes after that. I've kind of tweaked that, and I've brought that down about every 40 to 45 minutes is what I'd probably recommend. Okay. The reason being, especially if you got heat late in the race, I'd much rather get some of that carbohydrate down early in the race and make sure I have enough in the tank, as opposed to skipping and then going, because your body, guys, your body takes too much time to get that into your system, absorb that through your stomach lining. So you don't want to wait on that. So I would tinker with that as you guys get into higher miles where you're doing, you're out there 2 hours on your feet, and go like every 40 minutes when you hit a water stop, and always take your goo down with water. Don't mix it with Gatorade. I like to do my goos with my water stops on a race course, and then do my Gatorade separate. You don't want to throw electrolytes in with gels and beans and stuff like that. Okay, it's just too much of an overload of calories. Okay. Okay. Any other question?
Yeah. Samantha has a question going back to shoes. How many miles can your race day shoes have? Is 400 too many? Samantha, you better pack those shoes up and get some new ones, girl.
You answered the question, Robert. Yeah, time for some new kicks, Samantha. Okay. Yeah. You guys want fresh shoes for race day, man. You want some, you want some bounce to them, but you want to break them in. And that was my whole point with my Woodlands Marathon story. I didn't break them in. I mean, I broke them in with my little baby sixes, my little baby, my little remaining sixes, because I'm thinking, man, I want some really fresh shoes, because I've never had problems with shoes. It just happens that race. I mean, I walked out of the restroom, the Portacan at mile 13 when I made one loop, because it was a two 13.1 loops. And as soon as I planted my foot, man, I could just tell it was pain. There was that blister there, and I think it was just a dud shoe. If I would have taken it out on my 12-mile taper, my 10-mile taper, I probably would have figured out that was just a crappy shoe, and I would have saved myself a lot of agony, and I would have probably had a net 8 to 10 minute better race time for that race. Okay, so yeah, generally speaking, with running shoes, they say about 500 miles. Because of Houston's heat, I ratchet that down to about 350, no more than 400. So if you're already at 400, it's time to retire them to lawn mowing shoes or crappy rainy day shoes and go get some new ones. Okay. And you may not want to wait, Samantha. You may want to actually, if you're doing Chicago or whatever, you may want to. I know it's so soon now. I would go out and maybe get a pair and break them in a little bit before your peak run and run your peak in them. Sometimes I've done that too, where I'll run them in my peak or in my peak run and really break them in good, and then I know I'm good to go. Okay. Hope that helps. Any other questions?
Larry didn't have a question, but he does have a good point from his experience that for a lot of runners, the water stops aren't necessarily always sufficient, and they may need extra hydration when they're out on the course. So, don't always go into a race depending upon just those water stops. You may need to wear your hydration belt.
Yeah, hydration belts. It's kind of weird. I mean, I used a fuel belt the other day because it was too hot, and I'm like, I'm not planting water all over God's creation here. So there's this stigma with water belts, that it's not cool to wear your water belt. But I tell you what, I've done it before, guys, and I don't know. I'm still deciding what I'm going to do for New York. But I may wear a 2-bottle water belt minimum with New York. Why? Because I know I'm not going to get a good race time. But I've got fluids on my hips, man. I can just pop it out, and I can hydrate anytime I want. So, to Larry's point, well-organized races like the big ones, the fall, what we call the fall series, Marine Corps, you're not going to have a lot of course problems. They've got it down to a science. But you do some smaller races, off the menu races, and they really rely on volunteers. And sometimes the volunteers don't show up to a water stop. I can tell you guys for Woodlands, I was directing 16-year-old kid volunteers because they thought they were packing it up thinking the race was over, and I'm like, guys, that was the half marathoners going through. You got a pack of marathoners coming. So, I mean, I saved the day because there was marathoners coming through by the hordes, and I found an adult over there and said, man, these guys can't be packing it up. You got runners coming through. So you never need, to Larry's point, you never know what's going to happen. So, if you do that, you want to start once again playing with that and go buy a fuel belt. Maybe some people like a handheld type thing. Fuel belt's got like a little handheld thing that kind of fits your wrist. Play with those little toys too, guys, so you're comfortable with something that you're gonna know beyond a doubt you're gonna want to carry around for half a race course or an entire race course. Okay. Any other questions?
There weren't any other questions, but along that same lines too, that's also where you need to do your homework. For the bigger races, go to their website because they'll tell you where those water stops are going to be. They'll even tell you what flavor Gatorade they're going to serve you.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. If you know that ahead of time, you can practice with that same flavor.
Yeah, and like Houston Marathon, they had, you guys probably remember, they had shot blocks. They're called shots or whatever. I can't remember. I think it's the same people that make the power bars. They had them on the course. And when I was out there coaching, I saw some people are having some major stomach issues, and it's because they probably never did gels, okay? And then they're like, oh, gels, yay, and they just had a tough time with it. So gels, I mean, and just so you guys know, there's a lot of gluten-free gels now. There's a lot of natural gels. There's a new natural gel, I can't remember the name of it, at Fleet Feet. Fleet Feet has it now. That's really good. It's getting real rave reviews now. So you want to try that kind of stuff too, and play with that. And know what kind of Gatorade. Is it going to be Gatorade on the course? Is it going to be Powerade? Is it going to be Gatorade Endurance Formula? We just do standard Gatorade with our long runs, knowing that most courses are going to have Gatorade. Late in our season for Houston Marathon, I only serve lemon lime Gatorade. Why? Because I know Houston Marathon is going to have lemon lime, and then I actually mix it up sweeter so it mimics Endurance Formula. Okay, so I even go that far during our peak runs and just do lemon lime during those because I know that's what they're going to serve. Most races are going to have lemon lime Gatorade. if they have Gatorade, and it's going to be endurance formula which has a little bit more sodium in it. Okay. You guys on the right there, I just popped up a link to Nancy Clark's book. You should be able to see that. I can see it on mine now. So you hit that link, it takes you over to Amazon, and you can purchase that. I mean, the best $10, $14 you're ever gonna. I mean, that's my Bible. In fact, I got to get her 5th edition to see what she's got new in there. But that's, you guys follow the carbo loading tips in there, and you're good to go. Even though I'm gonna, in the handout I'm gonna send you, there's like a daily meal plan sample of what Nancy recommends for like a carbo load. Okay. And yes, it does involve pancakes. Lots of pancakes. Any other questions? Any other questions in the queue, Robert? I can't really. I don't know why I'm not being enabled to. I'm not able to see the queue.
There aren't any other questions, but I think people may need to know they have to click on the tab on the right bar that says Pop-ins in order to see that link that Coach Michael just posted up for.
Oh yeah, yeah. It should. It's just
not in your chat.
Popped up on
yeah, it's not in the chat.
But if not, you guys can go to the pop-in. There's a pop-in thing. I'm seeing attendees, but I'm not seeing a. I'm not. Oh, here's chat. Okay. I don't see chat on mine.
Anyway.
That's strange. Okay, I'm glad I had you here, Robert. And anybody else there? I don't. We may have had some technical glitches, guys, because we only have 6 viewers. I had 34 signed up, 36 signed up for this last time I checked. So, or maybe when I said you don't have to be there and I'm going to send you the link, they just signed up and they didn't show up. But normally we have we're up to 7 now, but normally this is pretty foolproof. And I could have 10,000 people on this if I wanted to do it. You guys have any other questions at all?
Nothing else posted up.
Okay. We'll just leave it at that. I'll tell you what, when you guys look at the replay, you can see that little chat window there where Nancy Clark's book is there. The replay window that you'll be emailed, there'll be a little section to the right where you can actually ask questions after the presentation. So you can pop them in there and it'll auto-email those to me, okay? So if you go back to the replay and you're watching it and you're thinking, man, I wanted to ask this or whatever, or you guys are watching, you're watching the replay now and you didn't watch the live version of this, just know there's a window to the right where you can plug that question in. It shoots it to my email address. It lets me know that it came from the replay, and then I can respond directly to you guys on those questions. So by all means, take advantage of that. Okay. Hope this has helped, guys. I kind of threw this together based on what we've talked about before, but some new things. And then I've already thought of some things I need to tweak with this and make it a little bit better. So when we talk Houston Marathon, we'll kind of get a little bit more into the course, specifically into the course, because still the majority of the people in our group obviously are training for the Houston Marathon or the Houston, half marathon. Okay, so Robert and I thank you guys for tuning in. Check out your email. Within a couple hours, you get an email with the replay link. So hit that, and then I'm gonna tweak the handouts a bit and add some things. So give me till Monday on that. I'll send this to you through email. It's a PDF document. I'll just email it directly to you, along with a PDF of the carbo loading and hydration PowerPoints from dietitian Catherine Kruppa and the Houston Marathon race director, medical director, Dr. John Cianca. So it's just not many slides, but just loaded with different things you guys can use for carbo loading, for hydration on the course, pre-race, post-race recovery, all that. All right, so I'm going to sign off tonight, guys. I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll be doing a lot more of these, probably shorter segments, and I'm going to open this up publicly on Facebook. So when you get the link and I say it's public and it's not members only, by all means, let your runner buddies know. They can jump on this, and we're going to give all this knowledge away for free. We're not going to charge anything for it. Okay, so signing off, guys, and I will see you at the next long run. Take care and good night. Thanks. See you guys. Thanks, Robert.